History tends to remember its titans of terror: Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, Leopold II. But the human record is far darker and deeper than the handful of names most people know. Across continents and centuries, individuals have committed acts of cruelty so vast, so methodical, and so horrifying that it is genuinely shocking how little space they occupy in public memory. Here are several historical figures whose actions inflicted enormous suffering, shaped nations, destroyed cultures, or industrialized brutality, yet remain largely unfamiliar outside academic circles. Understanding them is essential, not to wallow in horror, but to recognize the recurring patterns of power, ideology, and dehumanization that allow cruelty to thrive. 1. Yaqub Beg, the conqueror of Xinjiang, 1820 to 1877. Most people know next to nothing about the violent convulsions that shook Central Asia in the 19th century. In that chaos, Yaqub Beg emerged as one of the period's most ruthless warlords. Originally a minor military officer from the Khanate of Kokand, Yaqub Beg took advantage of political instability in Xinjiang to carve out an independent state through a campaign of sieges, mass executions, forced conscription, and draconian taxation. His rule upended centuries of cultural coexistence in the region. Under his regime, entire towns were depopulated by forced marches, purges, or starvation. Religious minorities faced persecution. Harsh military law became the norm. Diplomacy was used cynically to recruit foreign support while his people suffered. Ironically, his brutality often gets overshadowed by larger Central Asian conflicts of the time. But local historical records describe his rule as one of violent oppression and relentless bloodshed. 2. Rana Vallona I, the Mad Queen of Madagascar, 1778 to 1861. Queen Rana Vallona I is one of the most ruthless monarchs in African history, yet almost unknown globally. During her 33-year rule over Madagascar, she sought to isolate the island from European influence and maintain absolute power through violent authoritarianism. Her reign was marked by mass torture at the royal court, a revival of the Tangina ordeal, forcing accused citizens to consume toxic nuts to prove innocence, killing tens of thousands. Forced labor policies so brutal that nearly 1/6 of the population is estimated to have died. Purges of perceived enemies, including members of her own family. Ironically, she is also sometimes celebrated domestically for resisting colonialism, a complexity that makes her story even more chilling. Nationalism mixed with unchecked authoritarianism is a historically deadly combination. 3. Genghis Khan's son Tolui, the forgotten engine of Mongol devastation, 1191 to 1232. Everyone knows Genghis Khan, but far fewer know about his youngest son Tolui, who arguably carried out some of the most brutal Mongol campaigns. While the Mongol Empire often gets romanticized for trade networks and military innovation, Tolui's campaigns were extraordinarily destructive. As commander of the northern armies, Tolui oversaw the annihilation of Nishapur, with chroniclers reporting that nearly every inhabitant was killed. The destruction of Merv, one of the most advanced cities on Earth at the time. The decimation of cities that resisted Mongol rule through mass slaughter. 4. Tomás de Torquemada, the inquisitor who institutionalized terror, 1420 to 1498. While the Spanish Inquisition is widely known, its first Grand Inquisitor, Tomás de Torquemada, remains surprisingly obscure outside academic circles. Torquemada was the architect of a system that combined religious doctrine with state power to justify public torture, confiscation of wealth and property, forced conversion, expulsion of entire populations. Death by burning historians estimate that under his supervision, thousands were executed and tens of thousands tortured or dispossessed. Torquemada helped shape early forms of bureaucratic oppression, embedding cruelty directly into legal and administrative frameworks. His legacy is so severe that his name is still used in some languages as a synonym for a torturer. But ask the average person who he was, and you'll often get a blank stare. 5. Queen Mary I of England. Bloody Mary was just the beginning. 1516 to 1558. People may know the nickname Bloody Mary, but few grasp the full scope and context of Mary I's cruelty. Her reign saw the Marian persecutions, in which approximately 280 Protestants were burned alive. Systematic targeting of scholars, clergy, and even ordinary citizens. The revival of medieval heresy laws, purges designed to eliminate political opposition. And even with her reputation for brutality, she is far less infamous than other rulers who carried out similar campaigns. 6. King Zygmunt Bathory, a sadistic lord of Transylvania, 1572 to 1613. Often overshadowed by his infamous cousin Elizabeth Bathory, King Zygmunt Bathory committed acts of cruelty that were just as appalling, if not worse. As Prince of Transylvania, he engaged in mass political executions, forced deportations, violent suppression of noble families, cruel punishments against peasants accused of disloyalty. Many historians describe his reign as one of chaos, paranoia, and unrestrained sadism. 7. Nurhaci, the brutal architect of Qing imperial expansion, 1559 to 1626. Nurhaci, founder of the later Jin dynasty which became the Qing dynasty, is celebrated in some narratives as a unifying figure, but the unification came through campaigns marked by shocking brutality. His rise was accompanied by scorched earth, tactics against rival clans, mass killings during the conquest of northeastern China, forced assimilation policies, punishments that included execution of entire families for political dissent. 8. Belisarius's rival, John the Cappadocian, torture as state finance 500 to 548. Most people studying the Byzantine Empire know the heroics of General Belisarius, but far fewer know the name John the Cappadocian, Emperor Justinian's finance minister, whose methods were brutally efficient. John created a system of tax collection that relied on torture chambers to extract payments, drove small landowners into ruin, confiscated property for minor infractions, imposed collective punishments on entire villages. His cruelty sparked popular uprisings, including the Nika riots, one of the most violent episodes in ancient Constantinople. 9. Karl Peter Wilhelm Scheele, the forgotten executioner of colonial Namibia, 1853 to 1907. Scheele, a German colonial officer in Southwest Africa, now Namibia, was a central figure in the genocidal campaigns against the Herero and Nama peoples. While his name is obscure, his actions were part of a systematic attempt to annihilate entire ethnic groups through concentration camps, forced starvation, medical experimentation, mass executions. The genocide resulted in the deaths of as many as 80% of the Herero and 50% of the Nama populations. Atrocities that occur far from Western media centers often never enter mainstream awareness, regardless of scale. 3. Historical complexity. Some individuals like Rana Valona or Nurhaci are simultaneously seen as national heroes and as tyrants. This duality often leads to selective historical memory. 4. Political incentives. Governments suppress or sanitize the actions of founders, warlords, or colonial administrators to maintain national narratives. Final thoughts. History's darkest figures are not merely cautionary tales. They are reminders of what humans are capable of when empathy collapses and power becomes absolute. The people discussed above operated in different eras and cultures, yet their atrocities share disturbing similarities. Understanding these patterns is essential to preventing them from recurring. If you want more deep dives into the lesser-known corners of history, hidden villains, dark psychology, or forgotten empires, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment what obscure historical figure I should cover next.